My name is Mary, and I'm going to talk about mentoring someone outside of Grace Baptist rather than someone actually within the church. I first met Crystal when she was about 10, and she and her cousin were part of the junior high youth group at church, and I was helping out with that. And she and her cousin both kind of latched on to me for some reason, and throughout her junior high and high school years, we met a lot and talked and had lunch, that sort of thing. And then I went away to go to school. Crystal went on to high school. And one of the things that we would talk about when I came back and visited at First Baptist was relationships she was having with the guy that she had been going with for quite a while. And things weren't good at home, and she was very good friends with that family, and she moved in with the family to have kind of a safe place to go. And so we talked several times about, you like this guy, you're now living with his family, let's keep things, in God's way of growing up and marriage. And she broke up with him. I kind of lost touch with the relationship for a little while. And then when I moved back to this area and was going back and forth to Turlock more, she and I talked quite a bit about it again. And I was pretty blunt with her at that point. They had started going together again and were a lot more serious, and so I was pretty blunt with her at that point. And life goes its various ways, and we didn't see too much of each other for maybe, 5-6 years or so. And then one day I was up at First Baptist helping with an event, and she came to me and asked if it would be okay if she called me. This was about 4 years ago maybe. And I said, sure. And we exchanged new phone numbers and email addresses. And in the course of the next week, she sent several emails to me saying she didn't know whether she could face me or not because she realized there had been this wall between us and she wanted to break that wall down. And she wanted to do it with the email. And what it boiled down to is that my words to her, my caution to her about remaining pure before the Lord had made a big difference in her life, but it had also created kind of a rift because she felt maybe she hadn't measured up to what I felt about her. Well, ever since that time, Crystal and I have met quite frequently. Sometimes she comes down to Fresno, most always when I go to Turlock. We meet in between, and it's become a very meaningful and very deep relationship, and I have helped her through several hard places. She's obviously helped me in return, and I've prayed a lot about it, obviously, prayed about her and her children and marriage now, and it's when Pastor Joe asked me about mentoring outside of the church, I started thinking about it in a little bit different light and realizing that it's a little bit different commitment than when I was mentoring someone right here in the church, because first of all, it's a long distance. So there's a commitment to driving the 125 miles to meet. When I do go, it's an hour and a half earlier than I would normally have to leave in the morning, that kind of thing. Also, there's a different level, I believe, commitment in listening and hearing, because you can't go back a day or two later all the time and say, did I really hear this right? Did I pick up the wrong meaning or whatever? It's a different, there's questions that need to be asked right away, thoughts that need to be spoken right away. I think in a long distance commitment like this to mentoring and to working together with someone. I also think that there's a different level. I have to be very careful with my own relationship with the Lord, because my words do mean a lot to her. Okay, my words do mean a lot to her, and I'm committed to doing my best to work with her. And because I can't see her every day, that makes a big difference. I have to be very careful not to try and fix things, but to let the Lord fix them. And I think that's one of the biggest things, because we're not together so much, making sure that it's God's will. And I can't go back easily and try and fix something that I realize I said wrong. And so there's a lot of prayer, there's a lot of commitment, and there's a lot of really trying to live before the Lord in front of her that I think means a lot to both of us, and I wouldn't trade the relationship for the world.